How's it going, guys? JP back at you once again, bring you guys another Top 10 Tuesday. This is a weekly countdown series where we count down 10 horror films that have to do with a predetermined topic in the horror world. As always, check the description down below for the links of the fellow contributors to Top 10 Tuesdays. I think I forgot to put the link in last time, but I will have it in this time, all of them, I promise. Make sure you sub those guys up, awesome people. The theme this week, or the topic this week, is 10 horror films you would show to somebody who is not a horror fan. Or I like to call it Top 10 for the Uninitiated. So there's many different ways you can go about this list. You can create a list for somebody who's a kid and you want to get them into horror. Obviously, you can't show them anything too extreme because they're just a little kid. You can do it for somebody who is an action fan, or somebody who is a drama fan or a comedy fan, and you're trying to kind of cater to their likes to bring them into horror. Or somebody who's not a film fan at all and you want to get them into film. Or somebody who is a film fan but hates horror movies. There's many different ways you can tackle this list. So I kind of just mixed it all together and just picked 10 horror films that I have showed to people in my life to try to make them understand or like the genre a little bit more. These are not ranked because there's no way to really rank them. So, starting at number 10, we have John Carpenter's The Thing. And the reason I chose this film is because it's a damn good movie, and nobody can deny that. You can be a 100% non-horror fan, and you watch The Thing, and you just are engulfed by the filmmaking technique, and you can't deny the craftsmanship in The Thing. My pap, for example, my grandpap, does not like horror films. He's not a horror fan at all. He's a Western fan. I pop in The Thing, I'm watching it, he comes down and watches it with me because he loves The Thing. It's a good movie. It's a great movie. So I feel like you can pull people who are not horror fans and just show them a well-made movie with a lot of gore and practical effects and, fear and, isolation, a lot of horror elements, and kind of trick them into watching a horror film and make them like it a lot, because nobody doesn't like The Thing. Nobody can say The Thing is a bad movie because it's not. Coming in at number 9, we have Scream. And I picked this one because oftentimes people who are not horror fans say the same things. They say they're so stupid, and it's often the cliches that people point out the reason they don't like horror films. They'll say, why is the girl running up the stairs when she should be running out the door? Or why does this guy go out into this creepy dark alley after he heard a noise? Or how does she not know it's the killer? It's so obvious. All of these things are reasons that I've heard people say to kind of attack horror films. And I feel like Scream obviously is that film that kind of references all of that material, pokes fun at it, and at the same time is still a good slasher movie. So I feel like people who don't like horror films can watch Scream, the people that don't like them for those reasons, and they can watch Scream and kind of be like, oh, this movie's smart because it's being aware. It's aware of all that nonsense that I don't like. So I feel like Scream is a really good horror film to kind of get those people to kind of respect the genre a little bit more. So Scream is my number 9 pick. My number 8 pick is Tremors, and really any of them. You can show them the whole quadrilogy. Tremors is a creature feature, but it's disguised as a buddy action movie. Kevin Bacon and I forget the guy's name, but they're buddies, they're friends, and they're kind of just kicking around, going from job to job, have this cool buddy mentality, playing rock paper scissors and stuff. There's a lot of action in it. It's classy. It's a bigger horror film. So you're kind of just tricking them into watching a cool creature feature by having, you know, a A-list actor and this buddy action film. So I've always found that people really like Tremors, even if they are not horror fans. So I always kind of pull Tremors out to show people who are uninitiated into the genre, kind of pull them in a little bit. Tremors is a good pick. Coming in at number 7, we have Super 8. This is a recent watch for me. This is my first time watch very recently. It's not the most horrific horror film. It's kind of tame, but I feel like people who are not into the horror genre, you could kind of pull people into this film by them kind of seeing the nostalgia, right? Because even if you didn't grow up making horror movies with your friends or being into, you know, the monster movies and shit like that, you can recognize those relationships that these kids have and get a nostalgic feeling in you. So I feel like it kind of works along the lines of like The Goonies or Stand By Me, where it's this kid buddy mentality that kind of gets people pulled into this film, because everybody kind of seeks that nostalgic feeling, something that takes you back. And this is a good film to get people to kind of enjoy a horror movie who probably wouldn't any other time. So Super 8 is definitely a good pick. It's also a good pick for a younger crowd as well. After that, coming in at number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Coming in at number 6, we have Predator. And Predator is an action film first, horror film second, but it's a very well blended one. I'm not the biggest fan of action and horror, but Predator blends so well that it has horror moments. Schwarzenegger, who is, you know, a huge 80s action star, you can instantly pull in those people who were action fans are fans of action because they know Schwarzenegger, and you know, once they're in and they start seeing, you know, the Predator and, you know, the killings and there's some gore in there, then you kind of got them. So Predator is definitely a good pick. You might also want to go with the original Terminator because it's not quite horror, but it's damn near close to being a horror film. So yeah, Predator. Coming in at number 5, we have Jaws. Now, Jaws is a similar case as The Thing, and it's just such a good movie that nobody can deny that. Nobody can say Jaws is a bad movie, because it's not. It's just not a bad movie. Nobody can successfully argue that there are more flaws that outweigh the positives for Jaws to be a bad movie. I've not even sure if I've met somebody who says they don't like Jaws, because I can't really think of it. But Jaws is one of those films that played on TV so much that I feel like I can go to anybody in my family and be like, hey, want to watch Jaws? And they will probably say yeah, and they're probably familiar with it. And it's a brutal killer animal movie at its heart, you know? So yeah, Jaws is definitely one to kind of ease people into the genre a little bit. You know, then maybe you could start with some other killer animal films along the lines of Jaws. So definitely Jaws is a good pick. Coming in at number 4, we have Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 is definitely more of a horror film than some of the other ones that I've mentioned because of the gore and level of violence in the film. And hell, it's even, you know, kind of creepy at certain moments. I know it creeped me out when I was a kid. Some of the black comedy went over my head. But then you do have the black comedy, the slapstick almost, that I feel like you can pull different types of people into it. And I feel like this is a good horror film for somebody who's not a horror fan, because it just kind of has that unique style to it. And it's kind of funny, and you can get a kick out of Bruce Campbell. And they don't need to see the first film because they recap the entire first film in the first 10 minutes of this film. So I feel like this is definitely a good pick for somebody who's not a horror fan. So Evil Dead 2 coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have Gremlins. And Gremlins is just classic. It's set on Christmas, so you can use that angle. You can pull it out during the holiday season and be like, hey man, let's watch a holiday classic here. And while they're thinking it's like Frosty the Snowman or something, it's killer little green guys. It's fun. Gizmo's cute. You can usually get girls with Gizmo. They'll like him. So it's kind of kids like Gizmo as well. Kids like Gremlins. It's not as violent to where you can't show it to them. So I think Gremlins is really a great one to kind of attack all different people, all different kinds of people, to try to get them into horror a little bit more. So Gremlins is definitely a decent pick as well. Coming in at number 2 is actually a surprising pick, but I swear to God it works. And that is Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp is one of those films that they're going to make fun of. You're going to pop it in and they're going to talk smack on it and they're going to be like, this is ridiculous, it's so cheesy, it's bad, the kills don't make sense, there's plot holes everywhere. They're just going to tear it apart the whole time. And then, when you get to the end, they're going to go, holy shit, dude. And they're going to have this, I've done this before, they're going to have this look of surprise and just utter confusion on their face. And they're going to remember that experience as a very positive experience in horror. So I feel like Sleepaway Camp is a great like gateway horror film. I showed this to my boy's little brother, and he was like so into it that he was talking about it the next day and stuff. He's telling like our other friends, because everybody else had fallen asleep, and he really dug it. And he was making fun of it the whole time, and you kind of expect that, but at the end he kind of had respect for it, because it's one of those films that just will stay with you, and you have to respect that kind of feeling that it creates when you see the ending. So Sleepaway Camp at number 2. And coming in at number 1 is John Carpenter's Halloween. The reason I picked this one is because there's definitely a reason why a lot of people, a high majority of horror fans say that this is the film that got them into horror. They was a little kid, they was home, it was Halloween, the Halloween season, they were there with their babysitter, and they was allowed to watch a horror movie, and John Carpenter's Halloween was playing on TV, and that night changed their life forever, because they became a huge horror fan based on being terrified of Michael Myers on Halloween night, looking for Laurie Strode and her friends. It really is that gateway horror film for a lot of people. I will say that if you try to show it to somebody who's, maybe my age, who don't like horror films and never really mess with the Halloween films, they're going to think it's slow and boring. But if you get it to a kid, or some kid sees it on TV, it's a great film to get somebody into horror, especially if you get them at the right moment, because Halloween is that film. It's that film for a lot of people. It's that film that got them in the door. And you can't really deny its power and effect on thousands of people. So Halloween is number 1. Just a little recap here. We have Halloween because it is everybody's gateway horror film. Sleepaway Camp because of the ending. Gremlins because of its holiday wholesomeness. Evil Dead 2 because its comedic and slapstick elements along with its gore and violence. Jaws because it's a damn good movie and nobody can say otherwise. Predator because it has action and Schwarzenegger and you can pull people into the horror from that. Super 8 because of that nostalgic Stand By Me Goonies feel. Tremors because it is a creature feature hidden as an action film. Scream because it makes those assholes who talk so much shit on horror kind of respect the genre a little bit and kind of agree that it's a bit smarter than they thought. And finally, The Thing because it's John Carpenter's The Thing. See you guys next time. Peace out, guys. Later.